It's generous visionary Louis Ryan. Louis and Prue regret they could not be here, but we're recording this event for them, and we also have a recorded message from Louis to share with you. Please roll the message.
Good evening. My name is Louis Ryan, and I am pleased to add my welcome to all of you at this initial, but to be annual, Environmental Research Symposium, dinner, and ultimately Environmental Research Prize. I've been asked to speak to you tonight because my wife and I were involved in the creation of the symposium and dinner and prize. And I've been asked to explain why it is that we thought that was a good thing for us to do. First of all, a very simple answer would be that I've been on the Board of Trustees of Virginia Wesleyan for a goodly number of years, and therefore I have a loyalty to this school. I didn't go here as a student, but as a member of the Board of Trustees, I get to see the school, I get to see its development, and I develop an enthusiasm for it. The second reason is because Scott Miller and David Black asked me to. And I don't know how many of you know them very well, but I've never found the energy to say no to those guys. So that would be the second simple reason for my being involved with this. But the more substantive reason for each of those has to do with my wife and I's commitment to two causes above all others. And those two causes are education and the environment. And obviously, this symposium is the intersection of those two interests. So let me just take a second to explain why I'm interested in those two things. Education is probably pretty obvious why that's of interest to me, because I'm speaking to an audience of people who are either involved in education as educators or students or parents of students or otherwise interested in this university. So I don't need to go too deeply. But I'm going to take this opportunity to go a little deeper than that and explain what I view as the primary benefit of education, both to individuals and to our society at large. And that is that a good education may teach you facts, it may teach you skills, and all of those can be important. But what a good education does, one hopes, is to teach you how to think. And what I mean by thinking is learning to think critically, creatively, and holistically. And doing that is really necessary to guarantee the survival and thriving of humanity. And the environment is the perfect place to both learn those skills and to practice them once you've learned them. The complexity of the environment, the interrelationship of very many aspects of the environment, requires anyone who's interested in preserving our environment so that we can survive and thrive, must look at many aspects, because you solve a problem one place and it creates an issue somewhere else. So you need to have a full understanding of every aspect of how an environment works and how, if you attempt to improve it, you need to be mindful of the various ways that it might work and how your efforts to improve one thing may cause a problem somewhere else. For instance, wind power is a wonderful way to avoid the use of fossil fuels. But when you put wind farms in a flyway for bird species, you may end up killing a lot of rare birds. So you need to think about that. You need to understand that kind of issue and see if there's a way to have it both ways. Another example is electric cars. A good idea? Yes, certainly. But research has shown that the creation of electric cars creates a bigger carbon footprint than the creation of gasoline-powered cars. Now, the minute the cars start driving, the electric car starts regaining that benefit, but it may take 40, 60,000 or more miles before that benefit is regained, and it can be even worse if the electricity is generated through coal power. So these are just a couple of examples of how complex the environment is, how interrelated various parts of the environment are, and why it's essential that people who have an interest in the environment think critically, creatively, and holistically. So this symposium creates a natural opportunity for students and faculty, for that matter, to engage in this kind of thinking and to hopefully do meaningful research work that will add to our knowledge of the issues that we face with our environment and how we should go about dealing with those issues. So we are very pleased to be involved with this, to have our name associated with it, and we're thrilled to have Virginia Wesleyan University here in the Greater Hampton Roads area, bringing fabulous students to work in many areas, but particularly in the environment. Thank you for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to make these remarks, but I'm sorry I can't be at the dinner myself. Thank you.
That makes it difficult to follow. Very well said, Louis. Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Travis Malone, the Ann B. Schumannine Dean of the Baton Honors College, and it is my distinct honor to welcome you tonight and share with you just a taste of everything that goes on in the Baton Honors College. Tonight you'll see the vision behind me, or I'm supposed to be doing this. There we go. So, the vision of the Baton Honors College. So, and it is to, as much has been established by, in discussions and in Jane's vision for the Honors College, it became very apparent to all of us that there needed to be an opportunity for students to have a space to explore everything that they have developed, learned, and put into practice while they've been honors students here at Virginia Wesleyan. So we want to thank Louis and Prue Ryan for establishing this symposium and providing this public venue to showcase the research and innovative ideas and approaches to addressing the global challenges we are facing. Now, the students in the Honors 480 class, that happens both fall and spring, were given a simple task: develop a research project that sought to address one of the United Nations 17 goals for sustainable development. Just one. You might choose to end poverty, provide food for everyone, affordable clean energy, take climate action. But what these goals did was give us an umbrella under which we might explore what it means to have a sustainable world and how it is to develop and work within the threats of climate change, especially for anyone in any major. Because of tonight, there are 17 different majors represented in our research and honors tonight. So how do we get those? So by allowing this umbrella approach to addressing one of these goals, and there's 7 sub-goals under each one of these 17 goals, asking the students to address one of those sub-goals, it gave us the opportunity to provide this space for these capstone projects. In Emergent Strategy, Adrienne Marie Brown writes, at a human scale, in order to create a world for more people, for more life, we have to collaborate on the process of dreaming, envisioning, and implementing that world. We have to recognize that a multitude of realities have, do, and will exist. The posters and research projects represented here are attempts to dream, visualize, and actualize real solutions for our world as it moves forward. The research papers and posters that were developed by both of these classes were blind reviewed by a panel of Baton professors from different major programs and one member of the Baton Honors College junior cohort. This member was selected by the members of the Baton Honors College Student Advisory Committee. And I'm grateful to Sasha Saxon, who this year is serving as our junior component for this year. Sasha and the 4 other members of our judges panel read all 41 papers, adjudicated all 41 posters, and as they voted, accredited, and then represented 3 and achieved 3 possibilities. That panel then was based, and they adjudicated them based on these 4 criteria: the potential impact of the project or idea, the ability of the student to address the environmental complexities contained therein in the context of both the problem and the community of which the project seems to address, the strength of the evidence in their project, and their ability to communicate that idea to a variety of audiences. And so this first round, I divide the 3 panelists and those 3 finalists, and those finalists presented their work on video, and the video and posters were sent to our finals judges, who are members of our representative community, who share vision, as well as board members, from the Virginia Wesleyan University community. Those judges are seated here at table 4, and I'd like to introduce to you Marjorie Mayfield Jackson, founding executive director of the Elizabeth River Project. Christy Everett, Hampton Roads director of the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. And Joel Rubin, CEO of the Rubin Communications Group. Guys, bring it on. We'd like to give you a special gift of our gratitude and appreciation. It's not quite the Oscar swag bag that most celebrities get, but it was we hope that you will help us celebrate the Baton Honors College where you go and throughout. And we again thank you for your willingness to serve and adjudicate these 3 finalists. So let me introduce you now to our featured presenters this evening, and I will get out of their way because this is more about them than it is me. So in alphabetical order, our finalists for this are Abigail Mahoney. How about that? There's this one. No. Our finalists are Abigail Mahoney, Brooke Morris, and Abigail Peterson. Tonight, our finalists will be presenting their work for you, and we'll be going in alphabetical order. So we'll start, and the first is Abigail Mahoney. Abby, would you like to come on up? Abigail Mahoney is from San Diego, California. Abby is a presidential associate to Dr. Miller, captain of the Maryland women's volleyball team, and was the co-CEO for this semester's Maryland Business Conference. And when I asked Abby about a favorite memory of her time in the BHC, she noted that aside from serving the Model UN team and her service to the institution, I might have added that part. Yeah. She loved that during one of the nor'easters, the residents of the Honors Village turned the quad into a giant slip and slide. College students will be college students. So Abby will graduate with her undergraduate degree in international relations with a business focus, and she's done it in 3 years. Don't worry, Abby isn't leaving us just yet. In fact, Abby is the first Baton Honors College student to graduate early and use her 4th year of scholarship to pursue an MBA with Virginia Wesleyan University. She hopes to then put both degrees to work, traveling and volunteering for various organizations and possibly enter the Foreign Service. This time, I am going to turn it over, and this time, as tonight, we know that both awards for each of the finalists are given both an award, a financial award, as well as a donation in their name to a chosen nonprofit of their choosing. Abby has chosen the Sea Turtle Conservancy out of Gainesville, Florida, as her nonprofit environmental opportunity of choice. I present Abigail Mahoney.
Okay, so full disclosure, I'm wearing these shoes tonight because they're my good luck shoes because I've been doing volleyball testing for the past 2 days and I passed every single one with these shoes on, so. All right, but let's get into the important stuff. So, what is food waste? Why should we care? And what can we do about it? My name is Abby Mahoney. That was kind of a crazy introduction to follow, but I'm gonna answer those questions for you today. So I just wanna start off by giving a brief overview of what I'm gonna be going over today, starting with the issue at hand and which of the 17 sustainable goals address food waste. Then moving on to relevant information, data, statistics, all that good stuff regarding food waste. And then the resources, what Virginia Wesleyan has to offer, as well as how can Virginia Wesleyan students, faculty, and staff make a difference. And then the solutions that I came up with from this university. So starting off with which goal addresses food waste, it's 12 of 17. Ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns, specifically 12.3. By 2030, have per capita global food waste at the retail and consumer levels and reduce food losses along production and supply chains, including post-harvest losses. The really cool thing about addressing food waste, though, is that it not only addresses 12, it also addresses 2, zero hunger, 3, clean water and sanitation, 6, good health and well-being, and 15, land. So what counts as food waste? What is it? So food waste, all those fancy words basically just mean it's the discarded or uneaten food. So let's say you're going to a restaurant and you eat a really big burger and it's really good, and then you can't eat those side that are also probably really good, so you end up just leaving them on your plate. That's going to be food waste. So first of all, I would like to distinguish between food loss and food waste, just to kind of give everyone a better understanding of what it is. So food loss is going to be loss on farms, so like a bad, what's the word I'm looking for right now? Just kidding. So yeah, bad produce, things like that, during storage, during transport, and then food waste is going to be in restaurants, in households, or in stores. So some relevant information, sorry. Yep, you're right. So some relevant information regarding food waste. There was a study released by Feeding America that claimed that 108 billion pounds of food is wasted each year. This is equivalent to about 130 billion meals for people and $408 billion. Shockingly, 40% of all food in America is wasted. Additionally, a Johns Hopkins survey claims that 84% of participants said that they would throw away their food close to or during the expiration date. And then the EPA says that 2/3 of that 40% actually end up in landfills. The reason that that's an issue is because when food decomposes in landfills, it turns into methane gas, which is 84 times more potent than carbon dioxide. And according to the UNEP, 8 to 10% of all global greenhouse gases are from that food waste decomposing. So it's a pretty big issue. For all you visual learners out there, this is just another thing that just kind of reiterates what I say. So out of 229 million tons of food, about 2/3 of it is eaten, about 1/3 of it is wasted, and then 3 million is going to be donated and 23 million is going to be recycled. And I can explain what all that means in just a minute. So resources, what do we have to work with? Specifically, what does Virginia Wesleyan University have to offer for this issue? The really cool thing about us is that we're a small school, so students like me have direct communication up the chain of authority, as well as we are very connected to our community. It's small, we have a lot of community outreach, a lot of local outreach, and we also have a group of students who I believe if they're given the opportunity will act sustainably. So campus resources, specifically, I like to call these the main characters of our story. We're starting with Marlins Go Green, specifically Jessica Wilson. She has been so instrumental through this entire thing. You're actually going to see a photo of her later. Marlins Ministry, that is a religious, not group, but organization on campus. And then the grounds team, specifically Skylar Latuka, he's the head of the grounds team on campus. He's actually employed by the Norfolk Botanical Gardens. He works all around campus. You guys have probably seen him. And then the Boyd Dining Center, specifically Mr. Tim Lockett. So, solutions, what do we come up with? So the two main things are grocery rescuing and composting. So grocery rescuing, long story short, is you take food from people who don't need it and give it to those who do. And composting is gonna be turning food waste into like rich, fertile soil. So a little bit deeper into grocery rescuing. Essentially what you're gonna do is a consumer will go out, you're gonna buy your groceries, and you're gonna leave them in your pantry, and you're not gonna use them, and the expiration date's gonna kinda come close. So you're gonna give them to an intermediary, like company or organization, and they're gonna get that to like a food pantry or an entity that can distribute it to people who need it. In our case for Virginia Wesleyan, Marlins Ministry actually already has something like this in place. They actually do have local outreach to all the churches in the local area. So it's really just about getting them supplies, and I will talk about that in just a minute. What do we need to do to get that started? Well, we need to get the word out. The word of mouth is actually a great tool that we use around this campus. Again, it is pretty small, so you tell 3 of your friends, next thing you know, the whole world knows. I'm just kidding. But yeah, so we can use that to our advantage, believe it or not, and we can tell people, hey, when your groceries are about to be expired, why don't we give them to people who are actually gonna use them? Shifting gears a little bit, we're gonna go into composting. As you guys can see in the diagram behind me, composting is basically the process of taking the uneaten food and instead of discarding it into the trash, it's turned into fertilizer. So a little bit deeper into more details, I do want to turn you guys' attention to these green bars down here. Skylar has actually put in a ton of work. This was all done before I even examined this project, and he got this approved by administration. So these green bars down here are the percent of waste in our campus that could be turned into composting. So it's about 30%. These are 2 different years. I believe it's 2021 and 2022. And then this red site right here is the area that he got approved by administration to put these bins, which at this point in time of the presentation that I gave last semester, he didn't have those done, and I'm really happy to say that he has actually received the funding and has built those, and this is all in system. So what are we gonna do about it? How are we gonna help? So first of all, I do want to go over the systems that were already in place before I started this, because I would like to say that I know that I get a lot of credit for this project, but there really were a lot of things that were already in place. It was really just about drawing bridges between them. So first and foremost, the Boyd Dining Center actually already had a pre-service collection in place. So there was a professor here who owned a worm farm, and they would cut up, like when they're cutting up the salads, they take the lettuce heads or making those great eggs in the morning. They take the eggshells and they would give them to him, and he would use them for his worm farm. But unfortunately, he has since retired. So we just had this pre-service food that was collecting. But really what we needed from that was a post-service system. And so then also I wanted to mention that Skylar Latuka, as I had just mentioned on the previous slide, had this whole plan drawn out. It was really just about getting those resources, getting that food. And then Marlins Go Green, specifically Jessica Wilson, they not only had the funding, but also the manpower. Jessica Wilson actually put together a schedule so that when we did implement the composting bin, we would have students there to help with the transition on campus, because sometimes students see a bin and they just throw whatever they want in it, unfortunately. So we actually had students there that were like, okay, you can actually put your napkins into this. Oh, really? Okay, cool. All right, well, don't put any meat in there. You're not allowed to. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, thanks. And so it's actually been super successful. And then again, Marlins Ministry already had a grocery rescuing system in place. We just needed to get them their food. So specifically, as I already kind of mentioned, we really just need to get the information out there for grocery rescuing. A lot of students, especially at the end of semester right now, we're working on getting the students to, instead of throwing all that food away, a lot of students have kitchens on campus, if you guys don't know. I know that my roommate definitely has plenty of snacks that I'm very doubtful that she's gonna eat before the end of the semester. So those can go places and they can be used, and that's great, and we have that as an opportunity. And then with regards to composting, at that point in time, it was, all right, we really just need to put a plan of operations together and make sure that every party involved has receiving clear communication, which is what we did. So here's a picture of Jessica Wilson and I with our official composting bin. The bags were funded by Sodexo. The posters and bin were paid out of pocket. We're currently working on getting more composting bins on campus. But when I tell you, I know this doesn't look like a great picture, but we are just so proud of what we've done. It took months of preparation and getting funding organized. I know most people in this room know what that feels like. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Here is my poster, which is right there, number 20. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you so much.
In an interest of hearing all of our finalists together, we're going to go right to all three as we go through tonight, but we highly recommend that for students and our community and board members to please feel free afterwards to take the time to ask questions and engage with the researchers around. You never know what new invention or innovative opportunity lies around the corner for you. Our second finalist is Brooke Morris. Brooke is a local student from Virginia Wesleyan from Chesapeake, Virginia. She'll be graduating with her degree in chemistry with minors in biology and political science. In her time at Virginia Wesleyan, Brooke has earned a spot in many honor societies, Gamma Sigma Epsilon, Chi Alpha Sigma, and Sigma Zeta, where she serves as the president. She is a captain on the women's lacrosse team, where she earned all ODAC academic teen honors for the 21-22 season. And Brooke's favorite part of her experience at the Baton Honors College is serving as the chair of the program's council, because she's gotten to plan so many fun and interesting events, which also includes service learning opportunities and volunteer opportunities for our students, and these events that bring the BHC community together. And after graduating, she's looking to garner work experience before applying to medical school. And her chosen nonprofit organization is the Sunrise Movement, a youth movement to stop climate change and create millions of good jobs for the future. Brooke.
Speaking of Programs Council, remember the deadline to RSVP for the Reading Day brunch is coming up. So please, students. Hello, as Dr. Malone said, thank you for that introduction. My name is Brooke Morris, and this is Combating Fraudulent Pharmaceuticals in Kenya. So this project is aimed at helping the United Nations achieve Sustainable Development Goal number 3, good health and well-being. Since COVID-19, which we're all obviously familiar with, so many health resources worldwide have been derailed, and so many of the resources set forth towards achieving this goal have been redirected to deal with the fallout from COVID-19. But this project specifically aims at target 3B, which is concerned with establishing safe and affordable access to vaccines and medicines worldwide, but particularly in low and middle income countries. So what are fraudulent pharmaceuticals? Fraudulent pharmaceuticals are any falsified medical product that may contain substandard amounts of active ingredient, excess amounts of active ingredient, it may lack the active ingredient altogether, or it may have other bacteria or toxins that compromise the integrity of the drugs. It's important to note that these pharmaceuticals are manufactured with the intent to deceive and exploit those in middle and low income countries where the need for pharmaceuticals is dire. They have a range of consequences such, I'm sorry, I'm gonna shift this way because I talk with my hands. It can have a range of consequences such as increased microbial resistance, failure to treat the illness, death in certain scenarios, but in every scenario, it increases the level of mistrust in the healthcare systems in these areas. So where do fraudulent pharmaceuticals have an impact? Like I just said, it is in low and middle income countries where there is very little access to affordable and safe pharmaceuticals. Online pharmacies have become very popular in these countries, Kenya in particular, which is the country I'm focusing on, because online pharmacies can sell drugs for a cheaper amount. However, online pharmacies make it very easy to sell unregistered medical products. And once these unregistered medical products are sold into the market, they are very difficult to trace because they are unregistered. The African continent in particular is a huge victim of drug trafficking. Between 2013 and 2017, 47% of all counterfeit drugs were seized from Africa. That's more than any other continent by a long shot. Kenya in particular is a large target for drug trafficking, like I said, because there is a dire need for pharmaceuticals. There is little access to affordable medical products, and there is no pharmaceutical manufacturing in the area. And to really hone in on why the need for pharmaceuticals in these countries is so dire and there's such a high demand for them, here is the top 10 causes of death in low-income countries. As you can see, the top 7 are directly treated, managed, or cured with some kind of antimalarial, antibiotic, or some kind of pharmaceutical. So what action is currently being taken? The WHO has actually established the Distributed Pharmaceutical Analysis Laboratories Project, the DPAL project, which is actually part of my undergraduate research. It's how I became educated on this issue. And the WHO has partnerships with different laboratories across the United States. It's headquartered at Notre Dame. And what happens is the WHO goes into these low and middle income countries, buys up samples of their pharmaceuticals, antibiotics, antimalarials, and distributes them to laboratories across the United States to be tested via high-performance liquid chromatography for inconsistencies. This semester, VW is a participant, like I've mentioned. I'm actually working with Sasha and 2 other honor students, but we are testing ceftriaxone samples from Kenya, which is your run-of-the-mill antibiotic. You're probably prescribed it as a kid for any ear infection. And the WHO also has the International Medical Products Anti-Counterfeiting Task Force, the IMPACT Task Force. It was established in 2006 and has gained a great deal of success doing just awareness campaigns. And as you can see, here's one of their posters in the bottom right. And it has tons of different global partnerships that will become very important in just a few slides. Private companies actually have their own unique stake in this issue because if it walks like a drug and it talks like a drug, it's gotta be from Pfizer. But so in an interview with a Pfizer employee, he actually told me that Pfizer has their own program where they train their pharmaceutical representatives to educate pharmacists, healthcare workers, nurses, doctors, the like, on the threat of false drugs. And they actually have their own flyers they put up in patient waiting rooms and in pharmacies to alert the communities of this issue. So my proposed solution is it's developing the Kenyan pharmaceutical manufacturing industry like India has developed their manufacturing industry. When you look at 1990s India, which is when India was in the very infancy of its pharmaceutical manufacturing industry, and you look at present day Kenya, the similarities are uncanny. You look at low labor cost, low land cost, very low amount of pharmaceutical exports, which noted India's is a lot more than Kenya's currently, but this is still considered very low for the industry. 1990s India had a very strong dependency on pharmaceutical imports from other countries, and Kenya has no generic manufacturing resources whatsoever. So looking at the Indian timeline. So in the early 1990s, India was still struggling after British colonialism, and the artifact of British colonialism was that India was very dependent on foreign pharmaceutical imports for their drug market. But what the Indian government decided to do to decrease that dependency was develop legislation that actually made it more friendly for manufacturers to come to India and set up manufacturing sites there for pharmaceuticals. And then they joined the World Trade Organization, they built up their own economy, and in less than 40 years, the Indian pharmaceutical industry has gone from less than $600 million in pharmaceutical exports to over $42 billion. That's an insane amount of change, and what it's done for the economy of India is incredible. And when you look at India, there is very little presence of drug counterfeiting. There is still barriers to access there, which I have noted, but it is due more to the class system than the presence of drug counterfeiting. And to really reiterate that statistic, And to really reiterate that statistic, here is that projection. So by 2030, it is projected that there will be over $120 billion in pharmaceutical exports from India. India has made itself the third most important pharmaceutical manufacturer in the world. 70% of American drugs come from India. Vaccines you have probably received have come from India. 22. I'm actually not totally sure, to be honest. It's always just like, India is number 3. But so the implementation of the solution. I would like to utilize the Impact Task Force, specifically the International Federation of Pharmaceutical and Manufacturing Associations, which assists countries in drafting legislation. So they have their own unique stake in this issue already called Fight the Fakes. And what that is another awareness campaign about fraudulent drugs. But they actually have resources where they are helping countries draft legislation to deter drug counterfeiting. So providing this resource to the Kenyan government would do wonders for its drug counterfeiting industry. Yes, and the next task force I would like to utilize is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. It consists of 37 market-based democracies around the world that collaborate to help develop economic policy on how to develop sustainable industrial growth. So looking at building up an industry in a country, this partnership could make all the difference in the world. And when considering the environment environmental considerations, obviously, we're going into an already low-income country that is already impoverished. So what we don't want to do is further exploit the land and these people who are already being deceived and exploited for needing medicine. So what I propose is I would like to address the common threats to antibiotic production before we go into the solutions. For every 1 kilogram of active ingredient produced, so for every 1 kilogram of actual usable drug that's made, over 100 kilograms of waste is produced. That's a very large margin. Looking at the antibiotic runoff, it can really affect the flora of these areas. And looking at the greenhouse gas emissions is very large in antibiotic industries. However, there is such thing as green manufacturing that eliminates the need for a lot of the toxins involved in the antibiotic manufacturing process. And it lessens the quantity of material need for manufacturing. So by result, there's less waste produced. And in general, it just reduces the waste levels. And the Innovation Medicine Initiative has actually established the Chem 21 project, which is a growing project where they are looking at developing chemical manufacturing sites that are environmentally friendly, that are designed with the environment in mind. They are meant to have a direct benefit on the environment while producing chemicals that are needed for a variety of things, including medicines. Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke. Our third finalist is Abigail Peterson. Abigail is from Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and is graduating with a Bachelor in Science in Biology and minors in Political Science, Chemistry, and a nearly finished History minor. Abby's list of accolades is extensive. Virginia Sports Information Director's All-Academic Team accolades for women's soccer, President's List every semester, she's been here at Virginia Wesleyan, served as a global scholar studying abroad in the UK, completed hundreds of volunteer hours in the fields of biology, environmental science, politics, and medicine, including her most recent volunteer work in the hospice field. Abby is currently weighing offers with scholarship funding from 6 master's programs. I heard Boston University, Duke, and a couple other places of various import. We hope that she hopes to attend one of those programs and then on to medical school in the future. Abigail's chosen nonprofit organization is the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. Abigail Peterson.
Hello, thank you so much for your time today. You might be thinking, okay, number 2, Abby number 2, there's 2 of them? Yes, it's me, hello. I am blessed to have the opportunity to share with you today my honors senior capstone project with you, which is outlining how to diminish urban stormwater runoff utilizing community partnerships. I would just like to begin today by giving you insight into how this project started. Like Dr. Malone told you before, I was tasked with addressing one of the UN's 17 sustainability goals with a proposed project. One of these major goals is for cities to incorporate water sustainable development To address this goal, I decided to study urban tree planting, which is exactly what it sounds like, planting trees in urban areas. Wow. This contributes to sustainability goals by reducing pollution and investing in green infrastructure. And as an end result of my project, I wanted to create a step-by-step process in which all individuals, no matter their educational background or age, could complete their own urban tree planting project in order to mitigate urban stormwater runoff or for another environmental issue. In this outline I explain how to determine where to plant a tree and detail the access to public funds for tree planting projects given by the Virginia Department of Forestry. So it's already paid for, yay. I also have examples for all these elements in the outline included within a case study conducted in the Chimney Hill neighborhood, which is in Virginia Beach. At this point, you might be asking yourself, okay, why plant a tree at all? Why in my neighborhood? It's blocking my view, why? Specifically in this area, Virginia Beach and the rest of the 757 is situated on a very special location in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, which is the largest estuary in the United States and boasts an abundance of marine diversity. Stormwater runoff, which again is kind of exactly what it sounds like, is rainwater that runs off structures such as the top of a house or a concrete lot or even through your grass, picking up nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus when contacting these surfaces and flows into the water. This creates eutrophication, as you can see in the simplified picture there. Basically, these increased nutrients create algal blooms that harm the biodiversity of our waters and decrease the oxygen levels of our waters. Another important element that I thought was significant to this project is a legislation, because if you don't know the rules, you don't know what you can work with. Virginia Beach specifically has a program called the MS4 program that's a permit that requires them to manage stormwater runoff and stormwater waste. So I kept this policy in mind when developing the framework of this project. One way stormwater runoff has already been dealt with in Virginia Beach is with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. They've actually planted trees along coastlines, and the Lynnhaven River Now project has also done several tree planting projects as well. Recent research has supported urban tree planting as an additional solution to curb this urban stormwater runoff. Some of these specific studies conducted in Virginia Beach. So if you're like, oh, that might not apply here. Yes, here's the place. Armed with all this information, I was like, who do I do? Where do I go? Like, I have this idea. I don't even know how to begin. I immediately contacted Dr. Malcolm, the Director of Sustainability at Virginia Wesleyan, thinking she'd know best. She connected me with a community member from the Chimney Hill neighborhood that was wanting to plant trees but did not know how and also needed to convince her HOA. So it's kind of a big task to do. To begin this process and to get funding, I needed to determine a good reason why to plant trees in her neighborhood. So I started by using two tools called the EPA and iTree mapping tools. The EPA mapping tools allows individuals to search specific socioeconomic indicators, like percentage minority in a selected area, and compares this data to a national average. This results in maps with different colors so you can understand quite easily, and a percentage of socioeconomic need. I'll show you examples of this on the next slide. And secondly, I used an iTree mapping tool, which allows individuals to plant a hypothetical tree anywhere in the world, estimating the economic and environmental benefits of that tree, while also estimating the crown growth, which is how far the tree diameter spreads, so it's not grown into your house. Both of these tools were used to begin the case study in Chimney Hill. So these are the EPA mapping results. Firstly, the Chimney Hill community ranked within the 70th to 80th percentile range for unemployment, as seen on the picture of the left of the slide. As Virginia Beach, even with COVID-19, is generally below the national unemployment rate by 0.4%, this place specifically displayed need in Virginia Beach. Secondly, the Chimney Hill neighborhood ranked within the 90th to 100th percentile range of neighborhoods across the nation having children under the age of 5. The WHO claims that the environment can determine a child's future. Children under the age of 5 are an important social group to keep in mind when you're doing an environmental project. Thirdly, the Chimney Hill neighborhood is at high risk for coastal flooding, as can be seen on the right picture with the orange and yellow lit areas, again qualifying the neighborhood for an environmental intervention. The iTree mapping tool, these results. The iTree analyzed 5 different spots in the Chimney Hill community, focusing on a site specifically denoted by the Chimney Hill community member I was working with. So this area on the right of the slide bottom is where she always wanted to plant trees and have a green area in her neighborhood. So for this case study, I focused specifically here. Normal tree parameters were used for this analysis. For example, according to research, a normal tree trunk diameter is 26 inches, so I inserted this into this mapping tool. It was estimated that these trees would individually increase air quality, sequester CO2, and uptake stormwater. The quantitative values estimated can be seen in charts in the middle of the screen if you're interested in the numbers. The iTree analysis also estimated that the trees planted in these areas, shown in the pictures on the left, would individually create $159 of revenue in 10 years. This revenue, you might be like, how can trees create money? Money grows on trees, what? This revenue includes the cost of clean air and utilizes a statistical model that estimates the tree's contributions to pollutants removed per year. So that's how they determined this. Now with all this information, I'm like, okay, I have everything. Let's dump it on your HOA, and they're on board now. Like, we have all the data. However, this is an incorrect way about completing an environmental project. This may be the most important step in a process. Without community engagement, a good idea cannot come to fruition. I chose to engage with the community members by letting them take ownership of the environmental initiative I was proposing. Of course, when needing to include this step in the outline I was creating, I realized this would change if someone else were to do their own community partnership with urban tree planting. Future individuals would need to communicate with their own communities, and this case study community would be unique to me. After conferring with my community member through several meetings, she and I applied for the Virginia Department of Forestry tree planting grant using all the information I showed you and like W-9 forms and all that fun stuff. I attended community meetings to clarify a lot of questions I had, like what's the budget? Are they using contractors or volunteers to plant these trees? That's all needed for this grant. This application has currently been applied for and is pending. So hopefully we're getting our trees planted here coming up in the fall. Following this, now finally, using the mapping tools, community partnerships, and funding information, I created a step-by-step outline based on the real-life project I actually completed for individuals to use in order to start and finish their own tree planting project in the future. This outline can be seen on the right of the slide and is accessed using a QR code, so feel free, just for if you want to whip out your phones and use it. Right now you can, otherwise I printed only 2 or 3 flyers, not too many, because you don't want to destroy the trees and trying to plant. Just to look at the website that has the outline on it, and the outline step by step for people if you're kind of bad with technology like me, like send an email. You do this by opening your inbox, step by step. I drew 4 major conclusions during this project. Firstly, I try to prove environmental stewardship is for everyone. Every person, no matter their skill or their background, can complete this process and get funding in order to improve our pollution and green infrastructure. I also learned that using trees as green filters is a best management practice, meaning that's the most optimal solution to solving the problem of urban runoff. Thirdly, I learned the importance of using community relationships. Without properly developing these, this project would have been impossible. Finally, I learned that there needs to be a more accessible, understandable way to complete these projects. I'm a bio major. I was confused. I can't even imagine if you're an educator and you're trying to do this. This is why I created this outline. Continuing this for other efforts such as an ocean cleanup or even stuff with Marlin Go Greens would be very helpful. And just to end, I'd like to thank Dr. Malcolm and Dr. Schaus for their guidance. I was in Puerto Rico talking with him about this project, and he gave me what was on his mind. And Dr. Malone and Dr. Larkin for their feedback. I'd also like to thank Connor Merck for being my editor. He's the editor-in-chief of the newspaper, so he had a little bit of experience. And as any true scientist, here are these. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby, and thank you all of our finalists, and a thank you all to the honor students who have put your research forward and consider these very important ideas and topics. So now is the good time. Now we're finally here. It's time to make some awards. When you all arrived, you were all given note cards to vote on an audience choice poster, and I'm proud to announce that the award for the audience choice at the poster award is poster number 35. The Use of Children's Literature to Encourage Environmental Stewardship, authored by Ryan Abrams. Stand up, Ryan. Now, as the prize goes and the finalists go, all three finalists are guaranteed their award as well, but there can only be, unfortunately, one winner amongst a very, very tight competition. And I'm proud to announce the two, Dr. Mo, would you like to join me as well? I'm proud to announce that the 2023 Lewis and Prudence Ryan Environmental Prize for Excellence in Research winner is Abigail Peterson. Yeah. We have a certificate as well for this moment. As well, let's go to this side. We'll take a picture over here. We will also formally award all three finalists with trophies at the Honors Capstone presentation culminating event next week, 2 weeks, for the as well. So one. And if we could have Abby and Brooke join us up well, and we'll take a picture with everyone together, please. So, Brooke. Sorry? All the students to come up and take. Yeah, we can do that in just a moment. Absolutely. Take that picture. No, I'm good. Travis, good. All right.
He's just the dean.
One more. Good. And one more request. I would like, actually, would we mind taking a picture of all the Baton Honors College presentations? It's the inaugural. So all BHC students presenting today, come on up. Come on up. Come on up. We're gonna make this work. Step in front of, step up. So join in.
We're gonna need a squatter.
We'll squat in.
Sorority.
Here, pick that up. We're gonna do a wind project here first. Let me hold that for you.
I'm just gonna pretend I'm really tall. Oh gosh.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Let me.
I don't know what you're doing either.
All right. Slip in.
Sorority squad, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
right.
Yes. Just happen.
Don't pass these out among you, so I have a bunch more.
We're gonna need a
One of these for you. Do you want it or double it and give it to the next person?
Front margin to this. They're windy. Thank you, guys.
Oh, you got two.
There we go, we're good. It's almost done.
I think she's still taking. Oh,
Yep. Sorry.
We're a little lopsided. Scoot. Yeah, I think you guys should scoot. Lights, yeah.
Can that be done, please?
Very good. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Congratulations to our winner, our finalists, and all of our participants. Tonight's presentations are really a wonderful example of the kind of strategical thinking and environmentally conscious global student citizens that make the Baton Honors College the selective and rigorous program that it is. And again, our thanks once again to Louis and Prue Ryan for their belief and support of Virginia Wesleyan. I look to the camera as I say that. What an incredible inaugural event for this signature experience of the Baton Honors College. Thank you all again for coming.